Welcome everybody, it's Tellum, and in this video we are going to be talking about the history of loot boxes or microtransactions inside video games. And to see how this all started, we have to go back 10 years in 2007 and looking at some bad tendencies of gamers in China at the time. But again, it wasn't entirely their fault, so let me explain. Because at the time, most Chinese gamers couldn't afford to pay for a game at full price, so what they would do instead, they would go to internet cafes and play the game essentially for free. Now of course, it wasn't technically for free because they still have to pay the internet cafes to play the game. But the problem is that instead of these game developers selling each individual that goes to these internet cafes a copy, they only sell a couple of copies to each internet cafe. And this really hurt the gaming industry in China. So some video game creators had to find a workaround, and that they did. And with this, it brought the rise of two different systems inside video games today: the free-to-play game and the loot box system. And this worked really well in China because instead of having to go to the internet cafes to play the game at all, they download the game for free, and instead of using that fee that they would normally pay the internet cafe, they use that to buy these loot boxes. And of course, the name of this game is ZT Online, the first game to ever be free to play and have loot boxes. And this system proved to be super successful. Just within the first year of having this system in place, ZT Online's monthly revenue exceeded $15 million. And seeing the success, in 2009, this system was brought over to North America in the form of phone apps. Some of the first games to ever implement this method would be Farmville, Mafia Wars, and Frontierville. I don't know if those were the first three, but they were some of the early ones to use this system. And just a few years later, in 2011, the first free-to-play game, Puzzles & Dragons, broke the $1 billion bracket just from using this system alone. But at this point, these are all free-to-play games, and their only revenue comes from these loot boxes. But this all changed in late 2011 with 3 different games, all charging you to buy the game and still having this loot box system in. And those games would be Team Fortress 2, Star Trek Online, and Lord of the Rings Online. But of course, after a year, all these games became free-to-play games also. But what was the first AAA game to ever use this system? Well, that luxury would go to FIFA back in 2012 or 11. But of course, this was added on later on in its development. The first game to ever have it from launch would be Mass Effect 3, all making you pay $60 to buy the game initially, but still keeping a loot box system in there. Not to mention, at the time, there was a really big problem with DLC themselves and season passes. They'd also cut out things from the games just to hide them behind DLC. It was a really big problem and still is a really big problem today. And of course today, almost every AAA game you will come across has this exact same system, all charging you $60 to buy the games, a season pass that's probably $50, $40, or $30, and still keeping this loot system in there. Just to name a couple, that would be Overwatch, Call of Duty, Halo, Battlefield, Gears of War, FIFA, and Shadow of War. And not to mention the reason why I'm probably making this video, Star Wars Battlefront 2. And that's pretty much where we are today with these loot boxes. The loot boxes rise has a lot to do with free-to-play games, but of course, it left that as fast as it could into being whatever it is today, charge you as much as you can. But the thing is, this system does seem kind of new to people, which would be not the case because I grew up with a lot of different card games going around, and this has always reminded me of it, especially playing Yu-Gi-Oh! When you buy those booster packs and you had to hope you got the good card in there, which was so rare, and holy crap, that was a ripoff. But anyways, that's besides the point. It's just the system has always been here, and I would really like for them to go and classify these as gambling, but at the same time, the same system, like I said, was in card games that were made for children directly, and these video games like Call of Duty and Gears of War and Shadow of War are rated M for mature. So I just wanted to say that at the end, just a little bit of my opinion or just my thoughts at the end. But tell me what you guys think about this history of this system. Do you guys think it's a weird system? Do you think you should blame the Chinese gamers in 2007, or what do you guys think about this whole system? I'd like to hear what you guys think about it. But anyways, that's about it for me. And if you guys enjoyed this video and left a thumbs up, subscribe, bell, and shared, then I thank you guys so much for doing so. But anyways, I'm gonna go, and I will catch you guys on my next video.